A friend of mine told me about this game. It came out with little fanfare 5 days before our conversation. He didn't tell me anything about the game, just that it was made by the same people who made the Danganronpa series, and that I had to watch the trailers. And I was instantly hooked. And I played the demo, and I played Route Zero, and now we're here. Hey guys, my name is Storm. Have you ever wanted to join an academy of Comic-Con attendees to fight against the apocalypse, which weirdly looks like Gloomy Bear design rejects? Me neither. So we're going to talk about the 100-line Last Defense Academy. This video will not contain any spoilers for the full game, but it will contain spoilers for the demo. However, because this video is spoiler-free, please avoid spoilers in the comments section. I am in the process of editing another video with spoilers, so stay tuned. You will have plenty of space to discuss endings and characters there. Just keep in mind that there are some explicit scenes past the first 100 days, and there are a lot of sexual themes in Route Zero, along with references to droga, abuse, assault, emotional manipulation, and many more fucked up things. Please, read the mature warning on the game's page. I cannot stress this enough. Do not play this game if you are a minor. This video will include nothing of the sort. You can watch it and be safe. I've seen some mixed reviews online, including a ragebait video which was quite funny to watch, and I will add mine to the list. My video, not some ragebait. Even though this video will be more of a discussion about the game, not a review, not a deep dive, not an essay, I still hope you will find this video entertaining, and without further ado, let's get into it. According to Wikipedia, the 100 Line is described as a tactical role-playing game developed by Tokyo Games and Mediavision and published by Aniplex. It was released on April 24th, 2025 for the Nintendo Switch and for Windows. Though I would argue that it's a cross between a tactical JRPG, a visual novel, and a choose-your-own-adventure exploration game. I said earlier it was directed by Kazutaka Kodaka, who also made the Danganronpa series, and by Kotaro Uchikoshi, who made the Zero Escape games and AI, the Somnum Files. The game's incredible music was composed by Masafumi Takada, who also worked on Danganronpa, Raincode, and Fatal Frame. The game follows the story of Takumi Sumino, your generic goody two-shoes protagonist a la Sora, with less positive energy, or Makoto with a little more guts, who lives in what is called the Tokyo Residential Complex, or TRC, with his mom and his best friend Karua, the airheaded houseplant who's just there to make the main character have a motivation. Oh hey Kairi, how's it going? As usual, something goes very wrong, and one catastrophe later he stabs himself in the chest with a knife, given by the game's mascot, which gives him supernatural abilities, kind of like if a D&D Blood Hunter was in a magical girl anime. After the fight and a really cool animation that I never skipped, Takumi wakes up in a classroom with other students, also commonly named Harley Quinn, Mondo 2.0, Alabama 1 and 2, Panic Attack, Mechanomania, My Roommate's 2D Crush, Inferiority Complex, and Your Best Friend. You meet the game's mascot with a theme that slaps, but I'm not sure if I can play it without getting a copyright strike, and I don't want to spoil it for the people who have not heard it yet. And after a lot of panic and crying and confusion from the students, they are introduced to the second mechanic of this game. The first being a visual novel, as we've seen so many. They must learn how to fight the invaders with their blood mage magical girl weapons. When I first saw this in the trailer, my initial thought was, oh, this looks like a mobile game. Although it is still less of a mobile game than my beloved The War Table in Dragon Age Inquisition, with its 8 hours of waiting time that you cannot skip. I hope these modders never step on a Lego and have a nice tasty dinner every night. You know the kind of mobile game I'm talking about. Those strategy-based games that are just glorified gachapon machines where the ad is just a character saying their lines as they fight. I wouldn't be able to tell you an example, all of these games look the same to me. But my first fight actually made me think of South Park: The Fractured Butthole. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see how smooth the fights were, and I was always looking forward to the next one. I liked figuring out how to beat commanders, I liked listening to the battle OST, which is so good, and what I will call the off-yourself mechanic was very well implemented in my opinion. The designs of the commanders are varied and always interesting, each one of them having a different mechanic to beat and a different strategy to plan out. And I love all of their blood magical girl outfits. I mean, I dress in black and white, so of course I would love the color scheme, but the hollow bluish heart cavity made of spiritual flame-like matter, with the organic like ripped fabric around it and touches of red as a blood callback is striking, original, and memorable. Even the main character, Takumi, who is what we expect from a masculine main character from this line of games, a good boy with a cowlick who lives in an average life, who eats his veggies and falls in line and goes to bed on time, well, he has a good design. In a sea of characters where their hair color is either neutral, muted, or dyed in blue, his striking red stands out from the crowd, as if he wanted others to spot the main character's special boy. His hair is definitely red to call back to his blood-based powers as, and this is a groundbreaking revelation, so hold on to your seats guys, blood is red. And because it is red, and because their weapons manifest with their blood-based powers, every weapon, which are very well crafted and drawn in 2D and 3D in my opinion, is red, just like their liner and war paint. Although his casual outfit is nothing to write home about, his monochromatic palette stays consistent, so the player's eye is drawn to his red hair. I wouldn't be able to say why he has blue eyes and a blue streak, but my theory is that it was to add a little bit of contrast, or because the heart chasm glows with a bluish hue, so it might be a callback to that. The 100 Lines 2D graphics are what we expect of 2Kyo games as ex-Spike Chunsoft employees. The distinct anime style with shiny hair and rings in their eyes make their comeback in this game. However, the 3D graphics look more like Persona 5 and games that came out after that than their previous games. Less Play-Doh that has been brushed over, and I say this with as much love as I have for the Danganronpa animations. But smoother, sorta like rubber, it gives me a sort of VTuber feel in a sense. As usual from their games, the interior decor of these schools may feel a little random at first, and I certainly was surprised by the Egyptian theme in the first floor hallway. My theory is that when we think about ancient Egyptian culture, we think about the pyramids, which were built as tombs for the pharaohs. The Last Defense Academy may not be built as a tomb, but it is a place where students go to war against the invaders, and obviously war is synonymous with death. So the academy may become someone's tomb as well due to the game's apocalyptic context. My personal favorite room is the cafeteria. I like the aesthetic of neon signs and industrial builds and bright colors against raw concrete and metal. It's a very pretty room, and I think they also put extra effort into it, as they knew the player would be spending a lot of time there. The gameplay loop is as follows: watch the morning announcement, meet up at the cafeteria with everyone else, spend your 2 free time events with whomever you want doing whatever you want, raising stats and grades, crafting gifts to raise your stats and grades, battle practice, outside exploration, upgrading your weapons, etc. Then you watch the nighttime announcement and go to sleep, rinse and repeat. Every activity you do has an impact on a mechanic or another. Spending time with your classmates helps you unlock new gifts to craft and get higher grades, just like giving gifts to your classmates help you get higher grades, which helps you upgrade your weapons and other battle equipment, which gives you an easier time when battling invaders, which leads you to more free times and more scenes with your favorite characters, etc. Your day will sometimes be interrupted by plot events which can take more than a day, or by fights to defend the academy from commanders and their invaders. The goal is to survive 100 days there. And once the 100 days are up, you technically beat the game. Now, you're going to ask, but Storm, what do you mean technically beat the game? Keeping this as spoiler-free as possible, the big issue that I have with this game is its unlocking mechanic, which I've seen people call the prologue, or which I will call the longest prologue ever. This thing will never end, it just keeps on going, holy shit. Setting aside every story element, you need to play through 100 days once on your current save file if you want to unlock this game's ending, of which there are 100. Or at least that's how it was advertised. They really like the number 100 in this game. It works like Nier Automata or Doki Doki Literature Club. Both are games which you need to play through multiple times to get a true ending. Doki Doki has 3 quote-unquote fake endings, which represent the end of a story arc. Same for Nier Automata, where you need to start again to access the other 2/3 of the full story. Online, people call this prologue, or these first 100 days, as Route Zero or Ending Zero. And despite the many plot holes and my personal writing biases, which you will get in the spoiler-filled video, I do like how this mechanic was narratively implemented, and because of all the unlocks and new choices, I feel like these new 100 days will not be as repetitive as I once thought they would be. However, I think it's time for me to address the elephant in the room, and those who have played the game and games by Spike Chunsoft are probably yelling at their screens for me to talk about it right now. I'm not the only person who noticed similarities between this game and the Danganronpa series, to the point that people have wondered if those two stories happen in the same universe. Giving concrete examples would be spoilers, but I can tell you where to find them. A hospital. Plushies. This lady. No, really. And sprinkled here and there in the game dialogue when they talk about despair. I would argue that no, the 100 Line and Danganronpa do not take place in the same world despite the many references that you can find throughout the game, but the theory is always interesting to listen to. However, I think that the big question is not, is the 100 Line like Danganronpa? As the answer is no. But the big question is it fair to compare the two games? I mean, TLDR, the short answer to that is also no, but hear me out. I understand where the comparisons were coming from. From the drawing style of the visual novel sprites, to the music being composed by the same person, to having the same game director, to the same surface premise. A group of young adults being bossed around by a rotund mascot, in an apocalyptic and dystopian present or near future with a wacky and weird but very dark story. Everything on the surface reminds us of Spike Chunsoft's Cash Cow. It was their best-selling series, of course people will find similarities. It's not fair, but it's how the human brain works. I just rewired mine, it's more cost-effective, but I'm a robot. Every time a new game comes out, it will be compared to the previous ones to see if it was better, worse, or if the product quality stays the same. With video game prices rising every year, people want to know if they're getting the maximum bang for their buck and if their favorite franchises are still bringing their A game. Especially if they're making a new franchise and not something the customer knows and loves. Why do you think they're making so many Disney live actions? Easy cash. Are you more excited for the next game of a franchise you love even if it's more than 60 euros? Or for a new project from that same company which has nothing to do with what you know and love and you're not sure you will like it but will have to spend between 50 and 80 bucks to get it? So I get why it's getting compared. I do get it. I get why people want to find links between the two franchises, and I encourage theory crafting. I love it. What I do not encourage people to do is dismiss this game as just another Danganronpa-esque game. Before playing the 100 Line, I used to think that it would always live in the shadow of their biggest franchise. And maybe it will. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, I'm not a fortune teller. But I, personally, think that this game should at least be praised as much as their previous series. You can see that this one was carefully crafted, and a team put their whole entire game devacy into this project. Especially since they're essentially bankrupt after releasing it. The person who graded me, Rain, is also bankrupt after working on their games. I know that too well. Rain's roommate lended him her copy, but knowing that also gave him the push needed to buy his own copy as well. With so many endings, there is no doubt that many of them are similar or might be joke endings or might end before the 100 days. But who knows, maybe my completionist streak will kick in and I decide to clear them all. Now that we are nearing the end of the video, here are a few tips for those who would like to embark on this journey, and I support you 100% if you decide to, as I had a blast playing it. Gifts are the go-to in order to raise your grades. Spending time with characters is really neat, but the dialogue loops back into things you have already heard, and gifts give you twice as many points. Maybe try to see every mini-scene, then focus on gifts. Well, there is a way to make fights super easy with just one character. I would advise against it, as the fights are way more fun when you use a variety of items, attacks, and techniques. Not doing anything during persuasion can be an option. You will never be lost, as you always have a handy-dandy reminder of your current objective that is visible at all times. It's super useful if you're like me and your brain sometimes short-circuits and you can't even remember what you had for lunch. The objective reminders got my back, really. Eito, Takumi, and Gaku are surprisingly hard hitters. Keep your voltage for special attacks for them and a character that is revealed later in the story, which I will nickname Samurai Chick. I tended to upgrade everyone equally, but they still dealt the most damage. Do not be afraid to off yourself in combat, especially when you're nearing the end of a wave of enemies. It is a very useful mechanic and has saved me countless times. Of course, it's a balancing act to know who to keep and who not to keep, but having this option is fantastic. The Switch version is a lot more censored than the PC version. A lot more censored. And as of right now, I don't know if it's available on Mac. I mean, what is available on Mac? And finally, you do not have to use multiple save slots for Route 0, but if you want to complete a few endings, save across a few slots so you can easily go back and try a new choice. And that's it, fellas. If you have watched up to here, thank you so much. Did you play the 100 line? Did you not? Will you? Won't you? Did you like the video? Did you not like it? Leave a comment, but also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell button, all that good stuff, all the classics, you know the drill. If you guys are curious, here are my top 5 characters. Feel free to psychoanalyze this robot brain or something. I just like those who have big personalities, who rebel, or who are very entertaining. Stay tuned for the second video on the 100 line where I will not filter my spoilers and will be able to yell about my thoughts about the end of Route 0. There are so many things to talk about, it's unreal. Anyways, fellas, I hope to see you all when I post my next video, and I'll see you around the internet. Have a lovely day.